All right, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Pursuit of Calling podcast. And today, you see him right now. I'm here with Norbert Elnar. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Great. I'm here with Norbert Elnar. We met through, again, like as you've seen with a lot of my previous guests, through Maxwell Leadership. We are both leadership. We are both Maxwell certified coaches, speakers, or whatever track we decided to go down in that respect. And I met Norbert recently. We had a conversation on Zoom. He told me like he lives over in Germany, so we're recording it here at noon here and 6 p.m. there, which was like a different kind of setup for me, which I never like. Um, so I never had to like coordinate with that far of a time zone difference. So that was that. So this is honestly really cool, and it's cool to be able to talk to somebody. Technology is amazing. Be able to talk to somebody on the other side of the world, and guys, I want to share his story with you. I learned recently that you can see the book behind him if you're watching this on YouTube. You see "I'm a Masterpiece." It's a children's book that he wrote. So go ahead and check that out, and we'll put the link in the show notes. But anyway, that's more than an intro. So Norbert, Norbert, thanks for being on the show.
Well, Thomas, thank you so much for that kind introduction, and I'm so honored to be on your show.
Definitely, thank you for your yes. This is honestly one of the coolest things that I get to do with the podcast is just be able to talk to so many cool dynamic people, and now with somebody over in Germany on the other side of the world. Like I said, it's really cool. But Norbert, so for those, I'm going to assume most of the people that are going to be listening to this episode aren't going to know who you are. So, so share with us a little bit about your backstory and how God first started stirring things up in you. I know you shared some stuff with me on our previous call, but start diving into that.
Wow. Again, thank you so much, Thomas, for the huge honor to be on your show. It's, again, thankful for technology that we get to do this. And hi, everybody. My name is Norbert Elnar. I am born Filipino and I was raised in the Philippines, but now I live in Berlin, Germany. I am married to my beautiful German wife, Sophie, who I met during uh, a volunteering uh, stint. I would call it a stint. I met my wife in a volunteering season of my life in South Africa. So we met there. We got together there, and now that's why I'm here living in Germany. So it's oh, that question is really loaded. I think when when somebody asks me about how you know how my life went and how I pursued my calling,
Yeah.
I would always say that it all started even when I thought I was even called. And
Mm.
in general, I I was a senior art director for a multinational advertising agency back in the Philippines. And I really loved what I did. I mean, it's not every day you get to make commercials and you get to really pursue what you're passionate about. And I love branding, marketing, creative work. And I'm really obsessed with creative work. So I went through that field. And it was only until a certain time, at least before around 2013, 2014, when we started to do some political advertising.
Mm.
And this is when it hit me really hard about how powerful advertising is, because by definition advertising is paid for non-personal communication.
Mm-hmm.
And we are made to create messages on promoting something. And
Mm-hmm.
it's cool when you start to promote like coffee and bread and consumer products. It's really fun. But
Yeah.
when we started to do political campaigns, it hit me hard. And
Mm.
then I realized that, oh my goodness, we're not just pushing our product, we are actually crafting a message that will determine the nation's future. And this was really scary for me
Mm-hmm.
because um I was afraid that I might be on the wrong side.
Mm-hmm.
And because that was our job, we had to do what we do. So
Yeah.
that weight didn't sit very well with me in the beginning. It was fun, but I really felt it was really difficult. And um and and that's where I decided, I told God, like, God, this has to change,
Hmm.
because I love what I do, but it feels very heavy, and I was almost too scared to make a mistake. And true enough, I what happened was I actually quit my job. And because I couldn't I couldn't align myself anymore with what I was doing, with what I love doing, and who and what I was serving. So it threw me off. So I I had this moment when I was in a church service, and literally there was a call that was made by the pastor. And in that moment, when this altar call was made, I realized God brought up an impression in my heart that I had when I was young. And it sort of like was like it was like a switch that was flicked,
Mm.
then turned on. And then I realized, like, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm called to do something more.
Hmm.
So I said yes to God in that particular service, not knowing exactly what I said yes to. I just realized that, you know what, I love what I do, but I said yes to the idea that, God, you can use me to do something with what I have, where I'm at right now, and you take care of it. Let me just tell me what to do, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And this was a very dangerous prayer, because this decision, this answering of the call, led me to South Africa in 2015. So
Mm.
I left everything. I left a promising career of advertising. Nobody
Yeah.
understood what I did, why I did that. Just went to South Africa and did this biblical internship. And during this time, here in this period, which was supposed to be only a year, became like 4. And this is
Mm.
where the entire story um, changed, because I realized that when you align your passions with a bigger purpose, it unlocks a huge destiny. And I realized how powerful professional advertising, marketing, and branding is when it's applied to kingdom minded, purpose driven endeavors.
Mm.
And when these two things mix,
Yeah.
then it exploded like crazy. And since then, I'm so passionate about, serving brands who really champion purpose, whose core is purpose, and purpose is not an afterthought.
Hmm.
Whose
Mm.
brands who are called to do something greater than themselves, and they are pursuing this calling on the brand themselves. So yeah, and that's why I ended up doing what I do, and now I really help transform businesses and organizations into influential, impactful, and profitable kingdom brands through the kingdom brand compass framework that we developed along the process.
Well, you said that you like you're focusing on with companies to uh, not have purpose be an afterthought,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And whenever you first enter these companies, is that sometimes the case where it is an afterthought and you're wanting and you needing to bring purpose to the forefront, or is this already something that they want to pursue?
So it can be both.
Hmm.
Sometimes they already do something that gave them some sort of like income,
Hmm.
and they feel this emptiness, right?
Yeah.
So I come in with our kingdom brand compass, help them find that greater purpose and meaning
Yeah.
of about their company. Or sometimes somebody comes into our program who's really who has that big desire or that righteous anger, who wants to
Hmm.
pursue something, and who
Yeah.
wants start right. So then we also help them craft the brand based on their faith and based on the purpose that was given on their lives.
Man, I'm really interested in diving into that compass Kingdom Compass framework that you're talking about, could you give like a high level? I don't know if you have something like that, like on top of your head, but if you have, do you have like a high level version of that you can share with us?
Yeah, sure. The thing is, the reason why it's a compass first is
Mm-hmm.
that the compass is a very good illustration of direction. And as
Mm-hmm.
businesses, as brands, we we are we are thrown into an ocean of noise, sort of,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
then it's like you have a ship in the ocean, and then your ship, first of all, needs to float,
Yeah.
and your ship is either big or small, whatever kind of ship that is, it has to navigate this ocean, and you have
Mm-hmm.
to go from point A to point B, making sure that you do not sink and that you deliver the right message, the right cargo of what you're carrying for your audience. So, and the reason why we it's a compass because at the compass always points you to your true north,
Yeah.
and the north part of our compass, we call it actually the mandate, and the mandate is the anchor scripture that really grounds your business. This is the divine why of why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So no matter what craziness, and no matter how things are going around, no matter what storm goes through, it will always point you back to your true north.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very important in the Kingdom Brand Compass. The very first step is actually uh, figuring out the mandate of
Yeah.
your business, why God has called you to do business, this
Mm-hmm.
organization. So um, the compass has six major pillars.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts with the first step is, of course, the mandate. Is this your
Yeah.
divine why? That's the northern part of the compass. The southern part is called, we call it the ministry. It's actually, in marketing terms, we call it like the target audience,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So this section answers like, who am I uniquely called to serve?
Mm-hmm.
So in Kingdom Branding, we do not see people as cash cows.
Yeah.
We treat them as real people. We try to educate the brands to see people for who they are, that God called you to serve a specific group of people. So this is what
Mm-hmm.
the ministry part of the compass does.
Yeah. I
the
love that.
the eastern part is called the mission, and
Mm-hmm.
in the mission we answer the question, what is the excellent service or product I deliver? So in this area we challenge, we help you craft a excellent product or service in a way that you communicate that.
Yeah.
So that's because because we represent God
Yeah.
in across the board, so it has to
Mm-hmm.
be excellent, not perfect but excellent. And on the west side, we have this pillar called the media. So it's really just a section that answers, where do I strategically show up? Because media can be overwhelming already by itself. So
Yeah.
we try to like help the business owners and the leaders to think it through, what kind of platforms, what kind of media that your brand should show up to have the maximum impact,
Mm-hmm.
without losing your mind.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
I'm sure you know what I mean, because it's so overwhelming with how media is being presented to us.
Yeah.
And um and and a lot of people, Thomas, they approach me and say like, I really don't want to be part of this media economy, and social media is not this, it's too, you know forgive my term, sometimes people think that it's too evil, that they,
Mm-hmm.
like, people have this idea of like, really demonizing social media. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not right, because it's a tool. It's not supposed to be meant for evil. So,
Yeah.
and we as Kingdom Brands need to shine light in this area. That's why we
Yeah.
need to be present in media. So yeah, that's the media. And in the intersections between the compass, the north, the northeast, southeast, and all these other parts is called the movements. So
Mm-hmm.
the movement is basically answering the question, how do all the parts of the brand work in rhythm? So these are the brand expressions, your brand assets are here. We help you craft your reasons to believe, how you write your copy, how you write how you do your tone, your personality. Everything is in there. And then at the center of the compass, where your needle is, that
Mm-hmm.
needle that points to the north always,
Yeah.
is called the message. It is the unchanging truth that your brand stands for.
Hmm.
And this is the unique brand identity and purpose, the greater purpose of your brand that's being presented to the world. And it always points back to your divine mandate as a business. So, yeah, that was like the bigger
Oh, for sure.
overview. Yeah, I hope that was helpful.
No, no, that was great. No, I hopefully I'm able to get like a summary of that in the show notes for people that want to go back and see and like you could rewind or you could go to the show notes and hopefully I should be able to have a um, summary of what he just said for you guys so you guys can look into that for yourselves as well. Because I feel like you could also not just attribute that to a business, but contribute that to an individual.
Absolutely. We found out that it works for any kind of brand, be it a personal brand, be it
Mm-hmm.
a nonprofit, and or a retail business, or whatever kind of business. Because I think even in the age of AI,
Mm-hmm.
these branding concepts are so fundamental and so foundational that it's worth stopping and
Yeah.
figuring it out, because these are uh, the core pillars that your business should be built upon.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes the brand agile, it makes the brand adaptable into any situation, no matter how the mediums change.
Yeah.
So we're very passionate about, yeah, really helping the brands figure out. Because I mean, Thomas, you know what it is when you're not walking in your calling, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
and this is exactly the same tool that we're trying to
Mm.
uh, implement for brands, because we
Oh,
also
yeah.
believe that brands are called into something. Now, if you miss your calling, then I think it's just a waste of resources.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if you're not working or living your calling, you kind of feel lost, aimless,
Hmm.
and that's what the compass is for.
Absolutely.
That's I don't know. I love that you used a compass because yeah, whenever you're following and having something that guides you on the path that you're supposed to be on, even if you don't know what that path is, as long as you're keeping within on the path that this compass is guiding you on these guardrails, then you're able to pursue what God has, like you said, divinely bestowed on your life.
Yeah.
Um, and one thing you said, and which I think we talked about previously, whenever we talked last, you said that the north part of the compass is the mandate,
Yeah.
and that's your divine why.
Hmm.
And I think that's also whenever I asked you, like, what calling is to you, is that's kind of the same phrase you use, I believe. It was you say your divine why. Is that right?
Yes, I in reference to the compass. Yes, the
Yep.
calling is my divine why, and
Yep.
it's that unique purpose that God places, in my heart, and it's really, it's really less about finding out, but more about listening
Yeah.
of what He has for me, or for the brand, or for the organization.
Hmm. I'm trying to. Hmm. I'm interested. I'm curious. Whenever you would say, and I apologize.
Oh, go for it. No worries.
Um, if you like you said like do you like what is like whenever you were asked like what is your calling, what is your purpose? Is it you might have already just said it. That's why I was saying I apologize. Um, but whenever you were asked, if you were to be asked directly, like what is your calling? What would you say?
So it actually took me a while to be able to get an answer to that question.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I even in the process of doing the brand compass and all these transition of my life, I really had a difficult um, moment of actually first what understanding what a call is, and
Mm-hmm.
then defining it for myself because uh, in the in when you're young, I really thought calling was a career that you choose,
Mm-hmm.
and that was it. Like that was the example that we normally see, that we're told. People ask you, what do you want to do when you grow up? I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was a calling already,
Yeah.
and of course it changes over time. And I never knew that what it meant for me. And I think I I would I it's safe to say, hey, that I only defined my calling when I sort of like was about to turn 30. And in the season where I told you earlier, when I was in that space wherein I was trying to really find myself in terms of my alignment with my career, with my life, with my divine purpose, this is when I started to question the call on my life, because I didn't know if I was called to something.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're in a comfortable situation, you don't think about these things. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, but that certain unrest and unsettlement in my heart was the one that was nudging. So when I went to South Africa, I was part of this biblical internship program, right? And in the middle of this, the first year of our program, there was a preacher who talked about calling, and and it was a very simple example. He used the story of Samuel when Samuel was called into ministry when he was 12.
Mm-hmm.
This very
Yeah.
famous children's story of like Samuel, and then he goes to Eli three times, and this whole uh, very powerful Bible story. And in my head, because I read that uh, so many times in Sunday school, there's a picture in my head of how that looks like. But
Mm.
once he unpacked the scripture for us, I remember the preacher said that there was a time in your life, and I think there's he did not say that this is a formula, but for me this worked. It spoke to me a lot. He said like, you might want to remember a time in your childhood wherein you felt something supernatural was spoken over you or was prompted in your heart, because that might be
Mm.
the specific call of God on your life.
Yeah.
Thomas, I was so shocked when this was said. I remember bawling in that service because when he pointed this out in the scripture, especially on the story of Samuel, one situation came into my mind immediately. It was when I was around, I think I was 16, turning 17. I remembered out of nowhere, and it was so clear in my memory, that I felt like God said to me, you know what? You need to prepare because something crazy will happen before you turn 30. And that was it. And I, of course, as a 16-year-old kid, I would have, I'm like, yeah, 30, too old, too far, whatever, I never, I never really thought about it much.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have not thought it was, what was that? Like, where did that come from?
Mm-hmm.
But when this was brought up like 15 years later, it confirmed what I felt was my call on my life. And I realized in that moment that, oh my word, I am actually living in that crazy moment that God was talking about 15 years ago.
Mm.
And this was the confirmation of the call. And then I realized in that process, in that entire year, I really tried to capture what I was called to do. And
Mm-hmm.
because as an artist, as a brand person, as
Yeah.
a branding person, it's very important to me to really be clear on what the message is. So in this process, I realized that my call was to preach the gospel to the ends of the world, to the ends of the earth, using my creativity.
Mm.
And this is the entire thing, that I am called to preach the gospel, to bring the gospel of Jesus
Mm-hmm.
wherever I go through my creativity, which actually
Amen.
belongs to the Lord.
Yeah.
And I've been really checking on that call every now and then. If I am doing that, then I feel the peace that I'm doing what I'm called to do. And no matter what it looks like, whether it's on a podcast, whether it's on a Sunday preaching, or just talking to clients, or whatever that encounter is, if I am aligned to that
Mhm.
call, then
Yeah.
it gives me peace, and I'm assured that I'm on the path where I'm supposed to be.
No, that's awesome. Like the way you talk about it is like it's a lot how I like to view it as like a calling is like the lens that you see your life through.
Hmm.
There is a someone that was on a previous episode like maybe over a year ago that like used that term lens, and I was like I can't see it any other way now, and I'm like because you see like I have like a phrase for my from what I believe my calling is to provide people with the tools needed to successfully discover and pursue their God-given calling.
Mm.
And I see my life through that lens.
Hmm.
I'm like, am I doing, like you said, am I doing what I need to be doing in this instance? Even at my job, like I still have a full time job. So like even at my job, am I doing that? Am I um, building people up and not tearing them down
Yeah.
so that they can be doing what they're called to do, and or to bring them or even to bring them to Christ so that they can find out what they're called to do,
Yeah.
and and like that's with like I kind of did something similar. Like I had a set something separate from my. It was part of my calling, but it was like a goal I had set out. And I after reading a book called Think and Grow Rich. I don't know if you ever read it by Napoleon Hill, but I wrote out like what he's like write down like from like this was probably like financial goals. So write down a financial goal and I
Hmm.
write down everything you're going to do in order to reach that goal. And I was like, well, I'm going to use my podcast. I'm going to help people on my podcast, my coaching, which I wasn't a coach yet,
Hmm.
and I'm going to sell these different merch items that's going to promote the brand. I didn't know what was going on them yet, and we realized just maybe like a month ago, I was like literally like everything I said in that, besides the money amount, but everything I said in that, like in order to get from where I want, uh, from where I am to where I want to be, like everything I wrote down in that list, I started doing without even like referring back to it, like, and I wrote it down over a year
Mm.
ago. I
Well,
used to read it every single day to keep it like ingrained in my mind,
yeah.
and like I'm at the starting block. I feel like I set the foundation, and I'm still need to build stuff on top of it in order to like really get to where I want to be, so I can reach the people I feel called. I believe I'm called to reach. But the um, but like I don't know. It's like glory to God that like that actually what I wrote down there is actually what ended up pursuing, and I always did that, but while I was pursuing Him as as the core focus. As
Wow.
like nothing is like I think kind of what you said like similar to what you said before, people sometimes demonize making money and
Hmm.
demonize and like it's not, and I'm like people sometimes demon like it's like yeah I'm going to sell these products because I want people to um put money towards something, not towards me, but like invest put their money into something that's going to benefit their lives.
Yeah.
And whenever you put something that you value, if you pay money, which is something you value, towards something you value, you're going to value it more.
Absolutely.
And like that's why I have like I mentioned my shirts earlier. They say you were made for more on the back, and it's like the shirt isn't for you who's wearing it; it's for the people around you who are going to read the shirt.
That's cool. That's amazing.
And
And I
go for it.
think and I think I really appreciate what you do here, because I think this your podcast, it is a springboard for people who are even in the crossroads of their life, thinking about
Mhm.
considering that they're called to a higher purpose.
Hmm.
And I mean, back in the days, I did not have podcasts like this that I could sort of like at least help me reflect. Like
Yep.
you're just in the dark, and I think it's very important what you do here. And I just want to give you a really a good shout out that this topic on calling on purpose is so important,
Hmm.
especially for the young people who are really trying to figure out this whole thing. And I think the sooner you embrace your calling, the sooner you unlock this part of your life, the better it gets. And it's not going to be easy, but it will definitely change the game.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And like for those who have listened to this podcast for a little bit, they know I've said all the things that I just said. I've said them so many times before, and like, but I'm like you whether you heard it for the first time or heard it for the thousandth time, it's like literally like I want to drill this into people's heads. Like your calling
Hmm.
is the lens that you see your life through. When you ever figure out your calling, like your life changes.
Absolutely. Of course.
And But no, man, I appreciate you diving into this with me. And like I know the um people can even take that king, even if they're what you're the compass that we talked about, even if they don't have a brand, even if they don't have something, they can take parts of that and be like, what is my mandate? What is my personal mandate on my life, my divine calling that I can use to be my North Star?
Absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes I talk to business owners and
Hmm.
coaches and stuff, and sometimes even non-Christians approach me about
Yeah.
this, and I always tell them, okay, if there's anything in the compass that you need to really
Hmm.
experience, it's the mandate.
Yeah.
It's exactly that, because uh, the rest can really be figured out, and they are technical, but there's no shortcut to getting the mandate. Like, it is a God revelation. It is something that you need to experience, because once that is unlocked, once that is revealed,
Hmm.
it makes your brand unstoppable and your life
Hmm.
unstoppable as well. And that's why it's a masterpiece. Masterpieces don't happen
Yeah.
overnight. It takes time. Sometimes it gets messy. You
Yep.
need to stop, erase, correct, revise. But at the end of it all,
Hmm.
at the end of your life, you've painted this picture.
Yeah.
And what kind of picture have you painted? What kind of
Hmm.
masterpiece are you letting the world see about your life? Yeah. So, yeah, that keeps me up at night.
No, that's amazing. Again, I do really appreciate we're running low on time, but like I really do appreciate you being on the show today. I guess people that listen to the podcast with guests, they always know I have two final questions that I like to ask every single guest, just to be able to provide us with more value that maybe we didn't get. That kind of gives us a different angle of value in life. So when it comes to resources, whether it be books, podcasts, videos on YouTube, what's like one of the top resources you usually recommend to somebody?
Well, for books, especially for children's books, I would just promote my my
Yeah,
book, uh, and in the most humble way,
yeah,
literally, because again, we've talked about calling, and I've realized how important our identity in Jesus is, and this is exactly why I wrote this children's book. It's
yeah.
to help children already discover and accept um, what it is, what it means to have an identity found in Jesus. And
Mm-hmm.
this book is really it's a family project that we did back in the Corona time, and it
Mm-hmm.
has its own life. It's
Yeah.
already been translated into German. So
Wow.
for the German speaking people, there you can also have it in German,
Yeah.
and it talks about identity. It talks about identity in Jesus, and I think it's the
Mm.
starting point of embracing the call of your life. So
Yeah.
uh, I just got a message right before we went on our call, like somebody in Cyprus just told me that they got a book, and then they started to read the book into their unborn child, because
Wow.
they just found. So it's very heartwarming.
Yeah.
It's really, really, it's such a big blessing and a huge, uh, it humbles my heart so much that that our book is able to do this. And yeah, glory to God for that. And um and in terms of like, marketing and branding,
Hmm.
books, I really am a big fan of Donald Miller, and I'm sure he's a very huge figure in the United States. So he just came out with a book called StoryBrand 2.0, and oh, it's such gold. So everything marketing messaging, that book is really the best
Okay, great.
to get. And then podcast wise as well. Well, I do have my own podcast. So
Yeah.
it's called Making a Masterpiece, where we really build your faith and inspire your business. So that's literally what our show is about. We talk about faith, entrepreneurship, creativity,
Hmm.
marketing, branding, and all the good things in between. So Thomas will be there. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to have you on our show as well, Thomas.
Can't
So
wait.
yeah. And then in terms of also, uh in practical terms of building a brand and growing a business, I listen to Craig Rochelle's leadership podcast
Hmm.
and the Amy Porterfield show. So it's these are really amazing shows that, I mean, it's it, you know, as you listen to one and then implement one thing, and I tell you, it changes the entire business. So that's how I've also managed to grow my own business, just applying little things from the wisdom of these people. And yeah, I think, and there's, well, of course there's so much more, but
Yeah.
those are my favorites.
Fantastic. No, I got those all written down, and I'm definitely gonna get those links at least, hopefully for all of them, but definitely for making masterpiece for your podcast, and then I am a masterpiece. I mentioned that I mentioned in the intro, and I just mentioned with you. So, or you just mentioned. So, the final question is, who do you know that I should know? This is a question I know you might have heard John Maxwell say before. This is
Yeah.
one that I've learned is very beneficial to me and the podcast.
Well, I would say also John Maxwell, right? But because we all know him and he doesn't need any more promotion.
Yeah.
But I think, I have this friend who I also met in South Africa.
Mm.
Our meeting was supernatural, it's a divine way of meeting, and she hosts this podcast called Talking Purpose.
Mm.
So I think it complements so much on the topic of calling.
Yeah.
And her name is Katie Booth by Kung, and I will send you the link to her show. And
Great.
she's the host of the Talking Purpose, and she talks about different topics on sustainability, on retail, on e-commerce, and a sort a lot of variety of things. But she's really, I love what she does, and how she presents her
Hmm.
show, and how faithful she is in the things that she does. So yeah, I would recommend go check her show out.
Fantastic. Awesome. Yeah, definitely send me the link to that for sure. Um, but Norbert, thank you for being on this episode of the Pursuit of a Calling podcast. For everyone that has been listening, thank you for listening to this episode or watching. If you watch on YouTube, don't forget to share it out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Give it a 5-star review, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Thomas.